A shattered watch and a blonde wig lay forgotten on the cold roadside. Silent witnesses to the night Hollywood's brightest star vanished forever. That lonely stretch of Louisiana highway, wrapped in fog and tragedy, became the final chapter in the life of Jane Mansfield. A woman who wasn't just a blonde bombshell, but a fierce intellect, a mother, and an unstoppable force chasing applause in a world that only wanted her for the show. Behind the headlines and scandal, behind the pink palaces and camera flashes, there was a little girl who lost her father far too soon, and who spent her life trying to fill that silence with the roar of fame. How does someone so brilliant, so determined, so larger than life, end up shattered by the very spotlight that made her shine? How far can ambition take you before the price becomes too high? Born Vera Jane Palmer on April 19, 1933, in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, Jane was the beloved child of an educated, upper-middle-class family. Her father, a well-respected attorney, and her mother, a teacher, gave her a strong foundation. But that world collapsed when Jane's father died of a sudden heart attack while driving. She was just 3 years old. That moment left a scar on her soul, one that never truly healed. From that point on, she yearned to be noticed, to be loved, to be someone unforgettable. As psychologists would later suggest, this early trauma became the root of her relentless drive to be seen and adored by the world. Long before Hollywood molded her into a blonde fantasy, Jane stood out as a prodigy. With a staggering IQ of 163, she wasn't just beautiful. She was brilliant. By the age of 5, she could play Bach and Beethoven on the piano and violin. She devoured literature, fell in love with Shakespeare and Tolstoy, and performed in school plays that gave her a taste of the spotlight. Even then, those close to her noticed the two sides of Jane. The serious, talented girl who dreamed of greatness, and the showy, attention-seeking child desperate for validation. These opposing forces would define her life. When Jane was 6, her mother remarried, and the family moved to Dallas, Texas. It was a far cry from her comfortable childhood home in Pennsylvania, but Jane found new ways to perform. She staged mini-concerts for neighbors, signed imaginary autographs, and mimicked actresses she idolized. From an early age, she was mapping out her future as a star. Acting and dance classes became her escape, her training ground, and her identity. While other children played, Jane practiced being famous. At 16, Jane's life took a surprising turn when she met Paul Mansfield at a party. He was 4 years older, and their connection was instant. They eloped just after her 17th birthday, and Jane soon became pregnant. Still, her ambitions never wavered. She attended college while raising her daughter, studying drama and taking acting lessons whenever possible. Paul wanted a traditional wife, but Jane refused to trade her dreams for domesticity. She juggled motherhood, modeling, and school, proving early on that she could, and would, do it all. When Paul left for the Korean War, Jane saw it as a chance to lean further into her goals. Upon his return, he promised they would move to Hollywood. And in 1954 they did. They packed up their daughter, their pets, and their hopes and squeezed into a tiny apartment in Los Angeles. But the city of dreams quickly exposed the cracks in their marriage. Paul couldn't keep up with Jane's ambition, and before long, he returned to Dallas, leaving Jane behind to raise their daughter alone while chasing an almost impossible dream. Their divorce was messy, bitter, and very public, but it became another chapter in Jane's growing legend. Jane's big break came not from the stage, but from a magazine cover. In February 1955, she posed as Playboy's Playmate of the Month. The photo shoot ignited a media storm, both scandalous and empowering. Suddenly, the world knew her name, and she knew exactly how to keep them watching. She mastered the art of the publicity stunt, whether it was a wardrobe malfunction or a bold public appearance that made front-page headlines. Fame wasn't something that happened to Jane Mansfield. It was something she chased down, lured in, and controlled with a brilliant mix of audacity and strategy. That same year, her acting career took a leap when she landed a role in the Broadway production of Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? The satirical comedy poked fun at Hollywood's obsession with the dumb blonde stereotype. Exactly the image Jane had begun to play up in real life. The performance won her a Theatre World Award and critical praise. When she later starred in the film The Girl Can't Help It, her comedic timing, charisma, and screen presence earned her a Golden Globe. These weren't flukes. They were proof that behind the curves and camera-ready smile was a woman with serious talent. Still, the media often compared her unfavorably to Marilyn Monroe, calling her the poor man's Marilyn. Studios tried to position Jane as a Monroe replacement, but the roles she was offered were always second-rate. The tension between the two actresses was palpable, with Marilyn showing open disdain for Jane. But Jane never let the comparisons stop her. Her film The Girl Can't Help It influenced the next generation of pop culture, and even inspired the Beatles. Yet, despite her growing success, she couldn't escape the typecasting that came with her image. Jane's personal life, meanwhile, was equally dramatic. In 1956, she met Hungarian-born bodybuilder and Mr. Universe, Mariskahargitay. Their romance was passionate and public, filled with media attention and scandalous backstage arguments. They married in a lavish ceremony in 1958 and soon became Hollywood's golden couple, raising their 3 children in a pastel fantasy known as the Pink Palace, complete with a heart-shaped pool. One of their daughters, Mariskahargitay, would go on to become a household name as Olivia Benson on Law & Order, SVU. But behind the scenes, the marriage was strained. Mickey craved privacy. Jane craved attention. Financial troubles, rumors of infidelity, and constant media scrutiny eroded their relationship, ending in divorce in 1963. As the 1960s unfolded, Jane's film career began to fade. Hollywood had moved on, and the parts offered to her were cheap and exploitative. But Jane adapted. She took her act to Las Vegas, where she earned impressive fees performing in cabaret shows. She toured Europe, became a beloved nightclub entertainer, and remained a symbol of glamour overseas even as Hollywood forgot her. Yet, the roles became more degrading, the scripts thinner, the fame dimmer. Still, Jane clung to her place in the spotlight with everything she had. In 1963, she pushed boundaries again by starring in Promises. Promises, becoming the first mainstream American actress to appear nude in a sound film. The bathtub scene sparked outrage and attention. It was a risky move, but one she calculated carefully. She knew how to use shock to stay relevant. But even as she broke taboos, she couldn't break free from the image that held her back. Studios refused to cast her in serious roles, despite her classical training, her fluency in 5 languages, and her impressive academic background. Jane's personal life had become a whirlwind of chaos. Her third marriage to director Matt Cimber crumbled amid mutual accusations and heartbreak. Her relationships became increasingly toxic, especially with her final partner, lawyer Sam Brody. Their connection was intense but destructive, marked by public outbursts, physical fights, and legal disputes over her children. Jane began to rely heavily on alcohol and pills, struggling to manage her fading fame, mounting debts, and broken relationships. The woman who once turned every head in the room was now struggling to keep her life from falling apart. Then, on June 29, 1967, everything ended. Traveling late at night with Sam Brody, her driver, and her 3 children, Jane's car slammed into the back of a slow-moving tractor-trailer hidden in a fog of mosquito spray. The crash was devastating. Jane, Sam, and the driver died instantly. Her children survived, though injured. The world was stunned. Tabloids swirled with rumors, some even claiming she had been decapitated, an untrue and grotesque myth that only added to the tragedy. The official cause of death was severe head trauma. But out of the wreckage came something lasting. Her death led to new federal regulations requiring Mansfield bars on the back of trucks, a safety feature that continues to save lives today. Even in her final moment, Jane Mansfield left a mark on the world that reached beyond fame and beauty. She was only 34 when she died, but Jane Mansfield packed lifetimes into those few years. Her legacy is a blend of glitz and sorrow, brilliance and misjudgment, power and vulnerability. She redefined how a woman could use her image to shape her career, yet she spent her life yearning to be seen for who she truly was, a smart, talented, complex human being. In the end, she remains one of the most fascinating figures in Hollywood history. Not just for what she showed the world, but for what she hid behind the glittering mask. If Jane Mansfield's story moved you, if her rise and fall left you thinking about the price of fame and the fragility of dreams, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. There are more stories just like hers, full of triumph, tragedy, and the truth behind the spotlight.